Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Hi, Lioness. Hi, Roberta. Hi, Kim. How are you guys? I know it's been like 100 years since I've been live. Hopefully, trying to figure out our summer schedule so that I can come live more often again. It's been rough. We've been trying to adjust to doing all the summer type things, going to amusement parks and baseball, and then we have bowling and just hanging out outside, swimming, all the great stuff. So I hope everybody has been good and that everybody is having fun so far. I mean, we're what, 3 weeks into summer, 4 weeks into summer. So, anyways, um, high reality wins. Yeah, it has been a while. Hi, Seal. So today, guys, I'm just gonna be live briefly. My husband actually went ahead and took the kids to their baseball practice, so that I could have a little bit of quiet time so that we could go live. I'm gonna talk today about Maya. For those of you guys, has anybody heard of Maya's case before? Hi, Libby. If you have heard of Maya's case, please put a one in the chat because I'm curious how many of you guys already know who baby Maya is. She's 8 months old. Um, and if not, then we will go from there. But let me see. Before we get into that, let me pull up. One more thing I want to mention to you guys is that Libby will be doing merch for the channel now. I will no longer be using what was it? I think it was oh goodness, what was it called? I don't even know what the site Teespring, I think is what I was using. And like honestly, Teespring was just they're okay. To me, I don't really I donated the profits from my merch before, and so collecting profits from merch is not a big deal to me. And so Libby is using she is doing a store now and she'll be doing merch for me. Let me pull up a couple of these pictures real quick so that you guys can see some of the stuff that she has in her shop. This completely just supports Libby and whatever she chooses to do with the funds from that is her choice. Let me get you guys. This is her Shopify, but this is her little store that she has going on here. And so this just supports somebody in our community. If anybody is interested in shopping some of her different items that she has on here, she has some coasters, lots of different types of coasters. Do not disturb my peace, my joy, my grind, my whole entire vibe. Different mugs, and here's like a Sleuth Mom Mod Squad mug, some different shopping tote bags. So just some different assortment items here. But she's also going to be running my merch, like I said. Um, for anybody who is interested in that. Like she has this logo. It's a Sleuth Mom, welcome to the Sleuth family. You can get that put onto a shirt, a Mod Squad mug, or a t-shirt design, and then of course the Sleuth Mom mug and a Sleuth Mom t-shirt, which she actually sent me a Sleuth Mom t-shirt. It came out fantastic. But if anybody is interested in any of that, this is her Shopify link. If anybody is interested. So, before we go too much further, though, I do want to talk about baby Maya. My other intentions are to talk about the documents coming out in Madeline Soto's case against Stefan Stearns and honestly Jen Soto. I am strongly her case is just it's been infuriating since the very beginning. I struggled to cover it whenever she first went missing. I did a video on her and then really just pulled way back because just the details of Madeline's life and the things that started to come out just honestly just deeply deeply disturbing. And now I'm just angry and kind of want to talk about it because it's infuriating to me that Jen Soto has not been charged and um that they do not have her on some type of charges. That woman, there is no way she did not know what was going on inside of that household for this woman to say that sometimes she would sleep on the couch and give them the bed and different things like that. It's just absolutely disgusting and disturbing, and so I do wanna talk about some of those documents. We went ahead and FOIA'd it. I know that there's a couple creators out there who have already shared, some of the documents, but we did go ahead and submit that request so that we can get those and talk about that more in depth. I honestly think that Jen Soto, my guess is that she may have submitted herself into, like, a psych ward or something like that. I could be completely wrong, but that's the only way that I can see why they haven't arrested her. Um, just the absolute only way that I can see that she is not being held liable for the fact that she essentially, I mean, she had said to her friends that her relationship with Stefan Stearns was on again, off again, and that they were, more like roommates and different things like that. We had heard, that, oh, they weren't really together, but he was just living there and stuff like that, with some of the things that we heard in the beginning. But then they presented this united front and, oh, okay, well, maybe they are together type of thing. And then we find out, oh, she would encourage him to sleep with Madeline because Madeline had such bad anxiety and different things like that, and she needed to cuddle to sleep and stuff like that. And it's just disgusting. It's just absolutely disgusting and infuriating that this man has not been arrested, or this woman has not been arrested. They have announced though that they are going for the death penalty for him. I am so thrilled about that. He is one of those types of monsters that it may have been only Madeline so far, but I guarantee you would have happened to more more people. More people would have been in that same situation. I guarantee it. More children, had he walked free from this. Yeah, no one is that naive. There's no way. There is no way. I mean, honestly, there's just I ca there in the beginning, I kept thinking to myself, I was getting frustrated because people were, insinuating, "Well, she must have known," and things like that, and I'm like, that could be a mom who is living the worst day of her life right now, and people are attacking, but then she's telling the police that they often shared a bed together and that whenever she needed her alone time, she would encourage Stefan and Madeline to sleep together, and what? That ain't her daddy. She's a teenager, a preteen, and he is some creepy man. That is not okay. That is not okay. Yeah, even if she is in a mental hospital, there is not enough medicine to cover up your yeah, right, to cover up your conscience. I agree. It is, it's strange. Oh, it's disgusting though. Anyways, let me get into this, missing 8-month-old and show you guys this because they are arresting all of the people in this case. Maybe. Where'd it go? Okay. So let's start with one of the older reports and kind of look at this. Well, maybe not. Let me just go ahead and play this interview. So this is baby Maya. Now, I'm concerned because we have only seen a handful of pictures of baby Maya. Baby Maya Tucker Rudd. So they're going by both names. The police often just say Rudd, others say Maya Tucker Rudd. It just depends. So she was last suspected to be in the care of her parents, Cage Rudd and Tessela Tucker. And unfortunately, she has been missing on or about Thursday, June 6th, is when they discovered that she was missing. So it's been about 5 days now. So while conducting a search and a welfare check of the house, police did not find Maya. Both of her parents were arrested on multiple charges, and over the weekend, KSP sent out another notice that additional charges had been filed. So this is a picture of her parents. They were facing charges of controlled substances, possession of drug paraphernalia, and abandonment of a minor. Now they have included more charges, including drug trafficking, engaging in organized crime, and possession of paraphernalia. They're also facing child abuse charges. So later, they arrested Maya's grandmother or grandfather and grandmother, Ricky Smith, age 56, and her grandmother, Billy Rudd Smith. Now, Ricky was facing drug trafficking charges and child abuse charges, as well as having weapons as a convicted felon. And Billy Rudd was arrested on an active domestic violence warrant. So you want to talk about, winners. This family is just, unfortunately, they're a mess. And they had custody of this 8-month-old baby who unfortunately was born addicted to methamphetamines and should have never been in this home to begin with. Her mom had already previously lost custody of her children, and yeah, oh yeah, they arrested the whole family. Whole family. They got them all. But so my concern is, out of all of these different family, or out of all of the different pictures that we have seen, in all of the pictures, Maya is either a newborn or just barely older than that. And this is another photo that we have of her. I feared prior to even starting this search that Maya may have already been gone. That's my fear. I know it is. It's such a sad situation. Yeah, they're a hot mess, hot mess. So while they were entering Billy Smith's driveway, they also found this guy, 37-year-old Timothy Roach. He was throwing unprescribed Suboxone under his car. So as the police pulled up to arrest everyone else, they also get to arrest this guy. He was arrested and charged with possession of a controlled substance and prescription controlled substances not in a proper container. So he is from Owensburg, and it's not immediately clear what his connection is to the family. Based on the fact that he was in their driveway with drugs, I'm going to make some assumptions about, where they could have been getting their supply from, or maybe this is somebody who was purchasing from them, right? That's a thing. And so he was arrested. He's the 5th person arrested, however, does not seem to be connected to baby Maya's disappearance.
Missing 8-month-old in Ohio County. Right now, the search continues for missing baby Maya Rudd Tucker in Ohio County. Kentucky State Police troopers are using cadaver dogs in Reynolds Station. They're searching an area on Hardin Lane. That's about half a mile from the home Maya lived in with her parents. Our Mitch Carter has been following this story for us since we first learned Maya was missing. Mitch, you're out there again today, and you actually just spoke with Kentucky State Trooper Corey King. What's the latest information?
Yeah, well, Haley, right now we're out actually behind that address on Deansfield Church Road where the parents were arrested. We're probably about 100 yards right now, staged back here through these woods behind them. Let me get out of the way and show you what I'm talking about here. Right now, back in those woods back there behind the house is a team of cadaver dogs actively searching for 8-month-old Maya Tucker. I'm talking with KSP troopers here. Obviously, they're searching for Tucker, but this story is more about how illicit street drugs can and will destroy lives. We now know Family Services removed 3 older siblings some time ago, and they were in the process of removing Maya, whose umbilical cord tested positive for meth. When someone reached out saying they hadn't seen Maya in some time, it set this sort of domino effect in order that's now led to several arrests for drugs and neglect, leading to these dogs out here today looking for Maya.
So the fact that they're behind the family home and they are searching this wooded area with cadaver dogs leads me to believe that somebody may have spoke up. If something happened to Maya and she is no longer with us, then it seems like to me that somebody out of this handful of individuals that have been arrested may be talking. And I hope that's the case because we have seen too many cases where these babies just go missing and something happens to them and then nobody talks. I think about, Angel Nicole Overstreet with this case. Like nobody nobody knew where Angel was for the longest time. I mean, the police eventually, I guess, found her in that pond or found evidence of her. But then there's other cases too with like Khaleesi Cuthrell and oh goodness, like Orrin and Orson West. These young children who go missing and then they're just gone. Why do women carry a baby? I don't know, knowing that they're going to be addicted. I don't know, Susan. Drug abuse is oftentimes generational, and I think that honestly, the individuals being born with it in their system gives them that predisposition. I mean, here is a situation where you have grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, all of them utilizing drugs. What chance do these children have at a normal life and to break that cycle? It's horrible whenever you see things happen generational like this. But yeah, BC, I agree. I'm glad to see arrest right away in this case. I hope that they're able to find her. I mean, look at baby Elijah. Very similar situations in baby Elijah's case as far as the parents go. And there's still no indications where he is. What happened? Where did he go? I don't know. It is. It's heartbreaking.
Take a listen here to what Trooper Corey King had to say about this case so far and what it is they still need.
Just having that information, no matter how relevant you think it is, it very well could mean something to us. We were seeing things firsthand based on the amount of search warrants, what people are talking. There's something that even if it seems so minute, it very well could be the end piece to that puzzle we need to get us where we need to go to find this child.
Now, of course, this is not the very first search for Maya, and it certainly will not be the last if this one's unfruitful here. Corey tells us later on this week, they're going to bring in some special equipment that can actually test the ground here. Right now, we're still waiting on that team to come out of the woods with those cadaver dogs. At this point, though, like we've been reporting here, Maya Tucker, she's 8 months old. She has brown hair and green eyes. And KSP is asking if you know anything about her whereabouts, if you're potentially harboring the child for the family here, you're not going to be in trouble. Please reach out and share what you know. Whether that's anonymous or maybe reach out to KSP's post, whatever you can do to get out to them. They want to bring her home. That's the only goal here. I'm, of course, going to be out here until these dogs tire out and they rest for the day. Until then, I'm going to be right here, like I said, watching the woods here, waiting for that team to come out. We'll have a more complete report about their investigation just ahead tonight on 14 News at 4, 5, and 6.
So the thing that gets me with this case too is the fact that they went so quickly to child abuse and neglect charges and things like that. What evidence do they have? What do they know happened in this case and how do they know it? There's a lot of that. So this is the interview with that trooper. Here is the full interview of the discussions they had with him.
Morning in nature.
And then after we watch this, they did do a press conference earlier today that we can watch as well. So it's just sad. Like I don't know what is going on in this world, but there's so many missing kids, and it just seems like there's never an end. There's never an end to it. There's always, always, always so much more going on than what we could even begin to imagine in a lot of these cases, and it's just heartbreaking.
Communities. I think this is fair to say that for us to describe what we are investigating today, we need to look back a little bit and talk about where this all began. So, this particular family that has been arrested, um, social services, also known as the cabinet for community-based services, uh, they had removed three of Maya's older siblings some time ago. For obvious reasons, the conditions, the amount of drugs, uh, that was largely the reason why those children were removed. So in October of last year,
My question is, if they removed them some time ago, was that before she got pregnant with Maya? Like, was Maya, um, was she pregnant already? Should these children have led to her also being removed? Did she lose her parental rights? And if you get your parental rights terminated for three children, should you really be allowed to have custody of your baby? I mean, that's something that we really need to stop and think about, because you think about cases like Angel Nicole Overstreet. Baby Angel was baby number 8, 7 or 8. I think she was baby number 8. And her mom had lost custody of every child leading up to her. Every child. So whenever baby Angel Nicole Overstreet was born, they never let her leave the hospital with her mom. Now, the issue was they still let her mom name who was going to have her. She listed Shannon Patrick Overstreet on the birth certificate as Angel's father with no proof that he was actually her father, just who she listed. And so that's an issue to me. There needs to be better protection for these kids so that they don't have this ability. If you lost custody of all your other children, should you be allowed to have an infant, the most vulnerable among them? I'm not sure how old the siblings are, but there's a certain level of ability to try to care for yourself after a certain age. An infant, there's never that ability to care for herself. She never had a chance. She never had a chance to care for herself. I mean, whenever you are this big, oops, whenever you are this big, she can't make her own bottle. She can't cover herself up. She can't even lift her own head at this age. So, how old was she the last time that anyone seen her? Because all we're seeing is infant pictures of this child. That's it. And that concerns me.
Maya was born. And the cabinet tested the umbilical cord, which later come back positive for methamphetamine. That was the initial reasons for the removal, as well as the conditions that these children were living in. Now, all of the other three siblings have been removed to a safe location, family members taking care of them. And that was the intent for this baby to go be with those siblings. Shortly after that, social services has the information armed in hand that yes, this baby too had tested positive, or at least the umbilical cord did. They were going to do a removal. No signs of the family, no signs of the baby. It wasn't until a family member notified one of our detectives that they had not seen this baby since the end of April. We were notified about May 30th, around that area.
So, the end of April is the last time, I believe it was her sister that has custody of the other children, is saying that she's seen the baby. So from October to April, so that's about 6 months old, that the baby that Maya would have been. But that's still about, you know, a month before police were notified. May 30th, he said. Me in your feels right now. Anger and devastation, everyone. Yeah, it's okay. It's just frustrating. Hi, Annie Lou. Yeah, the hardest part is you really can't do anything besides listen to the stories. What do we do to change this? I mean, we talk about CPS a lot, right? and the kids who slip through the cracks. Should there be, I mean, if her umbilical cord, if they even had the question that her umbilical cord needed tested for meth. Number 1, why did it take 6 months, 7 months, however long it took for that test to come back? Why are we so backed up that the test took that long? And why on God's green earth does mom deserve to have custody of this child before those test results come back? I mean, for crying out loud, if there's even some type of suspicion. You heard her mom had custody and her sister. Okay, so you're not sure who has custody. Well, I mean, her mom's now arrested as well, so it's just it just doesn't make sense to me, like, why in the world somebody who even has that type of suspicion can be allowed to walk out with a child. Not to mention the fact, if she doesn't have custody of her other 3, why should she be allowed to have another child and have custody of that one? I'm sorry, but no. And think about the cases that we have heard recently. Let's think about, like, for example, Harmony Montgomery's case. Okay. Oh, paternal grandmother was arrested. Thank you so much, Seal. So you think about things like Harmony Montgomery's case, and you look at people like Kayla Montgomery, for example. Kayla Montgomery no longer has custody of her children. Her parental rights, I believe, I believe, have been terminated. I I don't know if she has the ability to get her children back at all. If Kayla Montgomery goes on and has another child, should she be allowed to keep custody of that child, knowing that she has already failed her other children and knowing that they have already been placed into care? Like, it's crazy to me that we put kids in these situations.
Working with social services, we located the parents at Motel 6 on Gates Drive in Owensboro, and that's where detectives in plain view observed methamphetamine, paraphernalia, fentanyl that is pressed to appear like Percocet pills. That netted their initial arrest, but no baby was located in that hotel. Another search warrant was conducted at the location and across from us, right here, where they located more drugs, and that stemmed for trafficking charges as well as organized crime, within the amount of drugs and the perceived trafficking that was going along with that. Yet no baby. The parents, all they would say essentially is they make claims that the cabinet had removed that baby when it was born, which, according to the cabinet and all records, that was not true. So we really don't know at this moment where this baby is, and that's all the family would talk to us about regarding this baby. So what brings us here is that we're utilizing cadaver dogs to search the nearby church, cemetery, and the wooded area in behind their residence. We have already used a couple teams of cadaver dogs on the property. The handlers that handle these canines indicate to us that there was enough there to do additional searches, and that's why we're here today. We are hopeful we have a conclusion to this in some way. It seems that the sense of spirit with the investigators today is still hopeful and optimistic. However, the longer this goes, the more grim of an outcome this will be. Either way, everyone's looking for closure. I believe the community deserves it, the family deserves it, and we as an agency investigating this deserves to know what happened to baby Maya. I believe that utilizing these cadaver dogs, if that is the case, if this baby is here, there is a very good chance that this baby will be located. And that's where the recovery will begin. If this does not work, later this week, we're bringing in some specialized equipment through the medical examiner's office, where we can do essentially a really good overlook of the topography and what is on the surface of the ground or even below the ground. So we have some things lined up for that, and of course, utilizing cadaver dogs as well. They're a really good source for us. I think this is based on all the information that we have. We have no evidence that she's deceased, but we don't have evidence that she's alive either. And that's why, really, if you've been looking at all the amount of news releases we've been pushing out, we've been really keeping this in the forefront. We really want the community's involvement. We need the tips. We need that information. And someone knows what has happened to this baby. And that's what we're trying to find out. We have had a lot of tips pour in, valuable tips. Actually, just about all the tips that have led us to certain locations, although it didn't yield the baby, but it gave us answers. And unfortunately, most every tip we had to go at least conduct a forensic interview on somebody led to an arrest, because this is involving drugs, and a lot of drugs, and it's sad. But I would say with the cadaver dogs, one of the handlers better described this to me on how these canines operate. You can essentially pop popcorn in your house and remove the popcorn and the microwave from the house, and when you walk in the house, you smell popcorn. You know it's there, but you don't know exactly where it's popped. With a cadaver dog, they will pinpoint exactly where the strongest odor is and where it emitted from. That's what we're hopeful today, is utilizing those sense of smell from those canines to give us a direction where we need to go. So during the daytime, like today's perfect day for it, you have upward thermals. So if there is the decaying of flesh, it would emit a cadaverine. It's a chemical or a gas that is expelled into the air. That's what they're really looking for. It will be in the air. You'll smell it. However, we couldn't pinpoint exactly where it's coming from. But based on the thermals, if they're upward, the dog can hit that and take us to exactly where that is coming from based on the strongest smell. And that's what we're hopeful for. We'll get to that area and maybe uncover, perhaps if there's earth that needs to be uncovered, we will do so based on that. So the effective rate with cadaver dogs are very high. And we're hopeful this would be the chance, if this baby is back here, that this team of dogs will find it.
Perfect. And I wanted to ask you really quick, too, before we get into anything else. I know we had seen 8 month on the releases. I know the arrest citation said 6 month. Do we know the exact age of this baby?
Yeah, so if you look at that, and I think that was a little bit of the confusion, today she is 8 months old.
Okay.
But when the baby was last seen, that's when it was around 6 months old. So that's but she was born October of 23. Perfect. I don't know the exact day, but it was in October.
Gotcha. And so, you mentioned already a little bit just the amount of arrests here, a lot of family here as well. You mentioned too, this being such a drug-centric case, with her also being in this, seeing all the arrests, you mentioned every tip leads you to another arrest. Is there a point where this comes to an end without Miya even? It seems like there's so much here, so many different strings leading all these different places.
Well, it does. I think really this says a lot, just like at the beginning of when I was speaking about, this is a case about illicit drugs. This is what this is. There is no doubt that the hallmarks of an addict is selfishness. That goes along with it. And I think when as any thinking person would say, if my 3 kids have been removed based on my behavior or my addictions, perhaps I'm the problem. Maybe I need to get help before I bring in another child into this world. And that's not what has happened here. And it's sad that anyone who is struggling with addictions, I truly feel for them. But don't bring in children to the mix, because you see what, unfortunately, is what it's perceived that it's going to happen, what the end result is going to be. Okay, we have a missing child, but okay, is this child alive? And I think really that is the hallmarks of this case, is how addiction and heavy illicit street drugs has caused such a rift in the community, but also the family. Everybody we have following up on tips, just looking for this missing baby, has led, unfortunately, to their arrest, because they are an addict to some form of drug, whether it be methamphetamine, Suboxone, fentanyls, all the other different types of pills that we have found. It really shocked us as an agency that looking for a missing child that we're getting very little information from the family, the ones who should love and care the most, were not. And that really says something about the power of drugs and what it can do.
And so this to me is heartbreaking because he's describing basically the community cares more than this child's own family, more than Maya's own family. The community cares more. Every single person they're going to talk to is being arrested because they're all also drug addicts. It's freaking heartbreaking. Rambling, yes, the last time that she was seen was at the end of April. The end of April, her mom's sister had said that she had seen her, and that's it. That's the last time. She's also the one who called and reported saying that she hadn't been seen. Hi, B Tim. Yes, B Tim. I hopefully am back. I'm trying to figure out a streaming schedule for during the summer. Right now, my husband took my kids to baseball practice so that I can stream. Um, but I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to put my to put my live streams while we're doing, all of our activities and stuff. So, but it's just I don't know, it's just freaking heartbreaking. And like he said, it's sad because you would think that these people would think to themselves like, "Hey, I already lost custody of 3 kids. I probably shouldn't have a 4th. Probably should not have another child because I cannot handle the ones that I have, or I was not able to keep custody of the ones that I have, or I'm still doing drugs, or I'm still." Nope, they don't think about that because they're selfish. I mean, they're drug addicts and they don't see anything outside of themselves. That's it. It's sad. And so many people in this country are suffering from addiction. So many. And it's affecting everything. It's affecting everything.
Perfect. I wanted to ask you too, talking about the family, right? I know for you guys, it's been rough, almost a week since you guys, did that welfare check and started searching and all that. At this point, you don't know how long she's been missing for. You've got family members, immediate ones who won't tell you anything, or at the very least, you think are lying to you. For you and your guys and girls, I mean, how do you move forward with that, having nothing to go off of and all these issues?
Yeah, I think by gauging today the sense of spirit within the investigators, although still somewhat hopeful, it's looking more and more grim.
I want to say too, this is where public pressure helps because the police are talking to this extended family and the extended family are not being helpful. And you just heard the reporter say that the family, they feel like the family is lying to them and they're not coming forward and they're not saying what they need to say. They're not just giving up the information that can lead to this baby being found. Why? Why is that? If you have knowledge that these parents did something to this child, why not say something? Why? It's infuriating. And so that this community has been coming together and they've been searching and this police department is out there actively searching and looking and he has made mention many times about how he's trying to keep her story into the forefront so that it keeps circulating on the news because somebody out there knows something. But who is it? Is it people they're already talking to? Are they trying to put pressure on this family to be truthful? I mean, how often do you hear a police officer indicate that we know that the family's lying. We know that they're not telling us everything. We know that the family is not cooperating as much as they need to. And everybody is stonewalling us that has tried to say anything and ended up arrested for drug use and things like that. I mean, it's really, really freaking sad. Really sad.
And I think that's hence the reason why we have cadaver dogs here. It's there's the information we have received through forensic interviewing, the tangible evidence that we have gathered through multiple scenes. There's enough there to suggest we need to bring in these team of cadaver dogs to this location. We have no evidence that that's the case, that she is deceased, but we also don't have anything to suggest she's alive either. And at this point, she is truly a missing child. And but there is no information that anyone has her, that they sold this child, that this child was abducted. Uh, it really, we are getting very little to no information from those who should know the most. And it's based on true footwork from our detectives and information we're gathering from the public. And we have received a lot of information, good information. It's led to arrests, but it didn't lead to a result. And I think hopefully time will tell, but the sooner the better for us. And I'm hopeful that if there is someone who's holding this child for the family, that they will come forward and there will be no charges. You were doing what you thought was right at the time by taking in this baby, but we need to know where she's at and make sure she's okay.
You beat me too. I was going to answer my last question for you was
Yeah.
going to be, in my experience, folks who maybe are involved with things or keeping up with things, following along, if you could say anything to anybody right now who might be withholding information or might know something, what would that be?
That's exactly it. Just having that information, no matter how relevant you think it is, it very well could mean something to us. We were seeing things firsthand based on the amount of search warrants, what people are talking. There's something that even if it seems so minute, it very well could be the end piece to that puzzle we need to get us where we need to go to find this child. If perhaps a family member or friend is holding to this child, we need to know now. And you will not be in trouble. Anybody who has information, you can go to our website at KentuckyStatePolice.gov. You can send an anonymous tip. It goes to a third party. It's cleaned up and then sent to us based on the actual narrative of what you type. So you'll stay completely anonymous, but you can also notify your local law enforcement. Use the crime tip line. It will come to us in some way.
Perfect. And then, if nothing turns up today, how long are you expecting to be out here today?
Until the canines really tire out.
Okay.
But we have only one team today, so I don't foresee it going very long. They will continuously give them breaks and rotate those animals. Previous searches, we had multiple teams. Today, it's one. But if this doesn't net any result whatsoever, then we have something already planned later this week, utilizing specialized equipment from the medical examiner's office, which is really good equipment. It rarely gets used, but it's there for us when we need it, and we feel this is something we need.
Perfect.
This is really a case about how illicit street drugs can and will destroy lives.
It's a two-part video. Sorry, guys. To switch over. Yes, I gifted some memberships. Sleuth family, welcome back, Ramblin'. Welcome back, Roberta.
This was one of those where based on, and it is through some interviews, but also through based on what the canine handlers are saying, and some of the information we have received suggests that this will be a likely area if the baby was either murdered or died and disposed of. At that point, this would be a likely area. So that nothing suggests that if this child is deceased and out here, that it shouldn't range beyond much of rental station. But that can change. That can easily change. But everything that we're getting suggests that this will be the most likely area for us to search and the best area for us to search. And that's what brought us here today, is to do that. Maybe it's a good way to rule this out and focus elsewhere, because most of our leads led us to dead ends, and we have exhausted those leads. But we're keeping this as current as possible, because someone does have knowledge. Someone knows something, and we want them to share that with us.
And I know you said, spirits are up right now, in the unfortunate that you do find Maya's body. What charges are we looking at here for the parents?
It depends on what the medical examiner and the coroner's office, if they say that she was murdered, Perhaps let's say that she touched fentanyl, and as we know, fentanyls, whether carfentanil, acrofentanil, any of those are transdermal. So it would be very easy for an infant, no bigger than an infant, to have a little, just very little bit to absorb through the skin to kill a child. If we were to see that, then we obviously know the conditions that these parents put this child under, and that was exactly why the other children were removed. Then in the case, that would I would venture to say that would be a murder charge.
And kind of
Hi, Brittany. So so what he's talking about here, it makes me think that they, because of the amount of drugs and everything else like that involved in this, this might not be a situation where these parents, beat this baby to death or starved her to death or something along those lines. It could be as simple as her touching drugs. Touching drugs could have killed her. And so where is she? They're still searching as if she could be out there somewhere, but at the same time, now they have cadaver dogs out. Something led them behind this home area to search with cadaver dogs, and they're going to be bringing out extensive equipment at the end of the week if they don't find her with the cadaver dogs. What led them there? That's what I want to know. Liberty. Yeah, how do you leave the hospital with a drug addicted infant? I don't drug addicted and with an infant. And you already had 3 of your children removed. That's what it doesn't make sense to me. How were they able to keep this child? How did they walk out of there with her? Like, this is, I don't even know if it's so much a failure from CPS or whatever they call it in that area as it is in a failure with the laws. Like, how was this mom allowed to maintain custody of a child having already lost 3? There has to be some type of protections against that. To me, it's just baffling.
I'm thinking of things on the fly here, but I was here on Friday and got video of that house down there. You can see there's stuff in front of the door, there's stuff all over the yard and all that, and obviously other children removed from their care.
Mm-hmm.
In your experience, can you speak to the potential neglect in that place, the condition of that home?
Well, I haven't seen the inside,
Okay.
but it's my understanding that the conditions are poor.
Yeah.
You do see that most generally with those that are either trafficking drugs, possessing a large amount of illicit street drugs. That is no surprise that cleanliness or conditions for children would be up to par in houses like that, because the priority isn't necessarily the children, it's their addiction. And you see that, unfortunately, the sanitation, the I don't know, I'm trying to think of a better word. Yeah, I think that a lot of times you see the conditions of those homes that we see here, that most of those are unkept, unsanitary conditions for any children to be in. But then you have the lifestyle that comes along with the culture of drugs. You have violence. You have simply the fact that these drugs can easily kill you if absorbed into your skin or ingested. And then you're going to have innocent kids in the mix of that. It is completely unsafe. It is not a safe environment, and that's the reasons why the cabinet did what they did with the other 3 siblings. No surprise that this 4th child, Maya, who is missing, that was going to be her future too, is to go with the other siblings to a better location. Based on what you see on the outside, the inside is likely the same, and it was deemed unsanitary for any of the children to live in.
And again, if the other 3 children were taken from the parents, why was Maya not taken right away, or was it in the process?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad somebody asked that question. I hope I didn't listen this far. I hope that he gives like a really good answer. Like, I hope there's a reason behind it because it doesn't make sense to me.
I believe it was in the process, and of course, that's not my wheelhouse. I'm really not sure. I think the cabinet, of course, you do have these rights as parents. There's a delicate balance. I don't know the rules involving removal. Maybe perhaps if this child was born clean, then the cord was, was clean. I don't know. As long as the conditions were sanitary and the parents are turning their life around, they very well could have kept on to that child and then petitioned to have the remainder of the children back. But they have to turn their life around. And I think social services was investigating that to see where we stand on that, and then go through the motions whether a child should be removed or not. It's not as easy, I don't think, as what it may appear, but there are procedures they have to go through as well to get that done.
No way. See, that needs to change to me. They should have never they should have never been able to take her home, in my opinion. Like, that's just me, though. I mean, I don't know. It to me, it's just baffling that they were able to just leave with her. You would think that there would have to be some type of constant contact from the child welfare system if they were just gonna be able to walk out with her, and they didn't. I mean, the family reported her missing on May 30th. Somebody reached out and said that they hadn't seen the baby since the end of April, that they hadn't seen Maya since the end of April. And so why is there such a gap? Why is it such a big gap that if they were investigating to see if they needed to remove the child or not, don't you think it should have been done sooner? I I don't know. See, that's just too much to me. Too little, too late. Like, you can't I don't know. I'm just gonna shut up. I know I have to audio boost this next one because it's a Facebook Live. It's a 14-minute actual press conference that they did. That right there was just a interview that officer, so graciously gave to that news station, and he did a great job. I mean, there was a lot of information and advice and everything else like that, and information about drugs and things throughout that. But here is the official press conference. Let me get this up and volume boosted and all the things, and we'll take a listen to that. Yeah, this is in Kentucky. Yep. So let me get all right.
Good to go. You get it working? Okay, all mic's good? Yep. Okay. My title is Trooper, Trooper, Corey, Corey, King, King. So mic check's doing okay? Good. Okay. So this is truly a case on how illicit street drugs can and will destroy lives and cause the erosion of our community. I think it's fair to say that in order for us to describe what we are doing and conducting today, we need to backtrack a little bit into how this all began. So this particular family that we are investigating, this goes back some years ago, actually. If you're looking through the records with the Department of Community-Based Services, they had previously removed 3 older children, the siblings to Maya. They removed all 3 based on the conditions of the house. No surprise that drugs is in the forefront of the removal. Those children are safe. They're at So Maya was born in October of last year, and social services, shortly after the birth, was looking to as well remove this child. They had no contact with the child or the family.
The buffering is on their end. It says, "We apologize for the disruptions in this feed. The signal
This at the
was
time,
very weak."
6-month-old child. Several months later, our agency was notified by a family member of this of the Rudd family, and reported that they had not seen this now 8-month-old child since the end of April, 1st of May. Our agency responded. We looked. We were working closely with community-based services. We did locate both parents at Motel 6 on Gates Drive in Owensboro. When we located the 2 parents, No child was discovered. However, a multitude of really heavy street drugs, including fentanyl or possible fentanyl, hasn't quite been tested yet, and suspected crystal methamphetamine was located at the hotel. No child was discovered. That led us to the residence you see behind me, where another search warrant was conducted and more illicit street drugs were discovered in this residence. No child was discovered. So that investigation prompted at this investigation as to the whereabouts of their child. So we launched, and what led us to this point, further search. So today we're utilizing cadaver dogs at this location where we stand. This is 41 Hardin Lane. It's a church, and by looking at the maps, you will see a cemetery in behind this church. The cemetery, as well as the heavy wooded area with some ditches. There's a variety of debris that we are seeing in these ditches. These cadaver dogs will be looking in that debris, as well as looking for any type of signs of disturbed earth. And particularly with these canines, they are really good at detecting an odor called cadaverine, which is emitted from decaying flesh. Those dogs will assist us in that. Hopefully,
I wonder how hard it is for a cadaver dog to find a body at a cemetery. Like, that has to
the
add
longer
a
this
level of
goes on, the
difficulty.
more grim it seems. If this child is buried or deceased on this property, this team of cadaver dogs should be able to source where this child is at, and that's when we can do a recovery at that point. Later this week, we're bringing in some specialized equipment from the medical examiner's office, and we're going to do a very thorough search utilizing this technology, as well as a team of canines, to go further to where, at this point, where we believe she very well could be.
I know obviously there's the grandparents and the parents that are involved, but in terms of that you've conducted interviews and certain things like that, maybe even found some evidence in terms of what's kind of going on. Can you just, because I was in the courtroom yesterday with 3 of them, and there was no remorse on their face, if I'm being quite honest, in terms of, the drugs that you were talking about. Have you ever seen anything like this while you've been on the force in terms of a child going missing? 3 were, already were with child services or with family. Can you kind of tell me a bit about that?
Well, that's a good question, and I think yes, I have. And I think really this goes to the power of addiction. It's no surprise that we're talking about methamphetamine, fentanyls, cocaine, heroin, all these heavy drugs. The underlying component to addiction a lot of times is selfishness. And when you are overtaken by a powerful addiction such as this, that is your priority. And you see that right now. And that is scary. Hence the reason why we have social services doing their job in removing some of these children. If you as a parent would rather reach for a it's sad, but that's the reality. And we do see this. It seems to us, at least through investigative sense, that none of the participants involved in this are helpful at all to this missing 8-month-old, which as an investigator, that would tell you they know the answer perhaps. And that's what we're trying to find. Sadly, the spirit of our investigators today, we have been very hopeful and optimistic, but the longer this goes on, the more grim the outcome is like. And I think with the power of addiction,
So much buffering. I promise it's not on my end.
no, go ahead, sir. The amount of trafficking, we did learn that through the second component of
Yeah, why wasn't CPS called when they found meth in the baby? I know. It's so frustrating. He actually said at the beginning of this that social services was trying to make contact to take custody of the child. For how long?
The amount of drugs that we're talking about and how this plays a role in family life, uh, every aspect of interviewing and investigating, merely looking for the safety of this child, has
So this might have to be the worst copy of this press conference you could have sent me. I'm sorry. I should have
and
looked for a
you know,
different
I
one.
think really it hopefully we will find the answers really soon, but we're not overly getting a whole lot of information from where the source really needs to come from. And that's where we're relying on technology. We're relying on forensic interviews through non-family members, as well as what tangible evidence we have recovered so far. And that's what led us to this location and utilizing the cadaver dogs to see if some of these tips are true and what tangible evidence is pointing us in what direction we have. We have been getting a whole lot of tips, which is really necessary in a case like this. You'll notice that I've really put out a whole lot of updates, news releases, which may not seem like a lot to the casual reader. However, it is keep it in the forefront like it should be because someone knows, someone
Some of the facial
has,
expressions
the
it's sticking
community
him
at
with.
large, and the family can get closure.
So were there tips that led you to search this area?
There was enough information through forensic interviewing, as well as what tangible evidence we have recovered from the scene, that suggests we need to concentrate and focus right here in this area. Now, it doesn't mean
Doesn't mean she's gonna be found here, but they have enough that it's worth the resources to look there.
we believe is the right area.
You mentioned later this week another possible search. Is that here in the same area or a different place?
That's our plan. It's going to be nearby this location. We have no information suggesting that it broadens out well beyond the area of this community.
Do you know how many tips y'all have gotten in so far?
I do not know the amount. I do know it's quite substantial, which, again, kudos to all those who have taken time out of their day to let us know what they have seen. Some of the tips, quickly we can debunk, and some we really have to follow up. Largely, some of these arrests that we have made were based on tips that led us to certain areas, and that's where we'll find people uh, trafficking Suboxone, methamphetamine, possible fentanyls. Either way, that does net arrests, but at the end of the day, we still don't have our hands on this 8-month-old baby.
Is this the first time y'all have brought cadaver dogs here today?
No, this is not. This is actually the second time we have brought in a team. We actually had multiple teams of cadaver dogs. They searched the property in behind me. That was enough to say.
The moment she went home and yeah,
Were indicating to them. So that's where it led us to this area where we have one team of cadaver dogs working off to my right. And they're working the cemetery as well as the neighboring.
oh goodness. Okay, so they're working on the cemetery and stuff. I don't know if I can finish this. This is like
Off that.
rough. I can't
If
see how long it is.
it was best described to me from a canine handler and how these dogs operate. The best analogy that was explained to me is that you can pop popcorn in your kitchen, remove the whole bag of popcorn and microwave, take it out of the house. You know when you walk into that house, you smell popcorn. It's there, but you don't know exactly where it's popped. With these canines' capability,
We went popcorn now. All right, I'm gonna stop this because it's like glitching. I can't even pull this up.
they will come. They will
It's
smell those
not gonna let me
gases
stop
from
it.
any type of possible
Look at it.
decay.
It's
The
froze.
cadaverine and several other type of gases that are emitted. We can smell it in the air, perhaps. We don't hear, for the record, but if we were to smell it in the air, we may not be able to tell exactly where it's coming from, but these canines will. They will take you to the strong source, and that's what we need. So based on the day, that's
Yeah, none of that's new. That's all from that same interview that we watched, basically, where he talks about that. I know, take a shot of caffeine each time it freezes, right? So basically, they're saying, so the family is saying that the intent was for her to join her siblings, but on May 30th, other family members notified them that they hadn't seen Maya since late April. Now, the parents, the ones that have been arrested, are saying that they turned Maya over to social services on May the 1st. May 1st. You know what the irony is? Or how interesting that date is to me? Angel Overstreet, last picture, last time was that first week of May also. And Shannon said that he had turned her over to social services. Angel also was from Kentucky. Yeah, shame on the entire family. I mean, and so the issue is they're not talking on top of everything else, and this baby's just missing, and there's no photos of her, there's no information. Yeah, it was on May 1st. As soon as I seen that May 1st date in that screenshot you sent, see, oh, like my stomach dropped. May 1st. So what happened to her? What happened to baby Maya? I don't know. I'm gonna keep following up with this one. Hopefully they find her soon. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research. I'm guessing because of the way that bodies are buried now at funeral home or at cemeteries, because of the enclosures and things like that that people are put into, that it'll change things like that the cadaver dogs won't necessarily be thrown off by the fact that it's a cemetery. But I really want to know the information that the police know that led them to that area. I know it's not too far from the family's home, coincidentally. He said, what was it, 100 yards or so from the family's home? So is that it? Just the convenience of going to the backyard and burying her? Yeah. So there's a lot of different things that I'm sure would make a difference for the cadaver dogs. Um, but I'm wondering what the specialized equipment is and stuff that they'll be bringing in. Now, as the family starts going to court and documents start getting released, we'll obviously know more information. Until then, we can just wonder, I guess, what happened. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off here because they should be home from baseball any minute. And I appreciate everybody who came in to hear about baby Maya's story. Like I said, I want to go live and talk about Jen Soto and Stefan Stearns. Hopefully I can get those documents soon. If not, we might just look at some screenshots from some people who already have the documents, um, and discuss it, because I really just want to mostly discuss like you guys' thoughts on everything to see where everybody's thought process is with that. And then I do want to do a Sebastian live. I've kind of stayed away from doing Sebastian lives because of all of the insanity and because it led to a lot of craziness for me also, emails that I was receiving and different things like that. However, I do want to discuss some of this new stuff coming out, some of these new interviews and some of the craziness and the back and forth and all of the things, because I really do still believe that them saying that they were going to work together that day and then bringing on TikTok Tony and different things like that, I really do think it's still part of the family's plan to stay in the limelight on social media so that Sebastian's case continues to get seen day after day after day after day after day. because of the drama. Is that the right way to do it? Is drama the right way to make sure that people look at your case? To make sure that they look at your missing loved one, to see his face day after day. I really do think that there's something to that. So, anyways, all right, I will. Oh, TikTok, I seen it's what is it? Tiny Tip Tony? Something like that. I heard had a green screen slip in the bathroom. I seen that. I did see that. Like there's all kinds of craziness going on. Um, but I still think that it's part of the family's way. That they really genuinely have still been working together. Seth, Chris, Katie. And that they have mastered the YouTube algorithm. They've mastered the YouTube algorithm and they have figured out exactly how to keep people on all social media platforms talking about them. I do too, Tim. I still think that Sebastian is safe and alive and has the ability to come home. I still think that police are currently tracking where he could have potentially been lured out to via the internet that he had access to, that nobody wanted to admit that he had access to. And I still think that he has the ability to come home safe. I just hope and pray that the person who got him to leave his house is not some creepy, horrible person. I hope that it's not some predator. I hope that it's somebody who had good intentions for having him leave the craziness that his life was. But I do worry as time goes on that obviously the other side of things is, it took them 6 months. It took them 6 months to find where Kaylee Jones was. 6 months to track her through Omegle and to find the IP addresses that connected to an Uber that drove to her house or a couple streets over from her house and picked her up. It took them months to find that information and be able to track down the Uber driver then, and then to be able to track the location that she was driven to. 6 months before she was home safe. It just takes time. No, thank you. Happy 28 months, B Tim. That's awesome. Struggle is real. Happy 19 months to you also, dear. Love you so much. Yeah, it's an interesting approach, but if it works, is it wrong? I don't know. I don't know. You still think lured away. I'm sticking with that until there's proof otherwise. Yeah, I don't think anybody in that family had the I don't think they had the motive to unalive him. Not that you need motive, but whenever you're not looking at a situation where there's like drugs or alcohol or something like that, I mean, sure there's plenty of cases that it doesn't make any rhyme or reason why there was an unaliving that happened. But to me, there would have been some type of evidence, some type of proof, some type of whatever that would have led police already to figure out who and what and where and why and when. You think the PlayStation that Seth had was a point of contact where they made? Maybe he was tricked or left on his own. Yeah, absolutely. But you got to keep in mind he also did a whole school project via the internet through that that what was it, that farming club or whatever, the the agricultural club that they presented Seth with a certificate because Sebastian had participated in that was an online program, so he had to have had access other places outside of just Seth's house. I'm sorry, but I think that he also had access at Katie's house also. I mean, kids are smart. Kids are extremely smart whenever it comes to the internet. You would be shocked. And honestly, I wanna know what type of cell phone he had, because whenever it comes right down to it, I know from personal experience and trying to purchase every type of different blocker and every type of family control apps, and trying to limit access for my son on different devices, that if he had an iPhone or an iPad, Apple does not support these parental control apps. They do not support parental control apps whenever it comes to limiting their time or their abilities to access certain sites. They also do not support any type of key loggers or anything like that. They literally will not work on Apple phones, um, because of the child's privacy rights and different things like that. And so that's why we had to switch my son's phone from an Apple to an Android, so that I could block him from different things. And so I'm not sure if we know what type of devices that he used, if he had Apple or Android, but it does make a difference. If they were trying to control him, they may have thought they were controlling what he was getting into, but then weren't able to, because if he had an Apple, they wouldn't have. So, yeah. Yep. So, but anyways, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up, and I love you guys. I will talk to you all later. Hopefully, I don't know when, but we'll be live again soon. So, bye.